The late British astronomer and mathematician Sir Fred Hoyle wrote, "Darwinian evolution is most unlikely to get even one polypeptide, that is a chain of essential life substances, right, let alone the thousands on which living cells depend for survival. This situation is well known to geneticists, and yet nobody seems to blow the whistle decisively on the theory." Now he attempts to answer the question, why not? Once a society becomes committed to a particular set of concepts, educational continuity makes it exceedingly hard to change the pattern. You either have to believe the concepts or be branded a heretic. Now, for example, at George Mason University, biology professor Carolyn Crocker made the mistake of favorably discussing intelligent design in her cell biology class. She reportedly was suspended from teaching the class, and then her contract was not renewed. The president of the University of Idaho was evidently embarrassed when one of his professors, tenured microbiologist Scott Minnick, testified in favor of intelligent design in the Kitzmiller versus Dover trial of a few years ago. So he issued an edict. Now remember, this professor was tenured, so what could he do? He issued an edict that banned faculty from, quote, teaching views that differ from evolution in our life, earth, and physical science courses or curricula, unquote. Despite the cost to one's reputation of questioning Darwin, more than 800 doctoral scientists have signed a scientific dissent from Darwinism, announcing they're skeptical of claims for the ability of random mutations and natural selection to account for the complexity of life. Now, we've been talking about the specific intelligent instructions necessary to account for the origin of life. What about the origin of a universe that could sustain life? Why is there something rather than nothing? And if that something had a beginning, as the evidence strongly suggests, then reason tells us there must have been some being of great wisdom and power who pre-existed all that we see. Because if there was ever a time when there was absolutely nothing, no stars, no planets, no natural laws, no supernatural being, no nothing, reason tells us there would be nothing now. Maria von Trapp wasn't the first one to realize that nothing comes from nothing. Nothing ever could. That's why Scripture says, since the creation of the world, His invisible attributes are clearly seen. I can see it right here. His invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even His eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Fred Walker's old colleague, Francis Collins, now director of the National Institutes of Health, wrote in his book, The Language of God, about the fine-tuning of our universe. He said, when you look from the perspective of a scientist at the universe, it looks as if it knew we were coming. There are 15 constants, the gravitational constant, various constants about the strong and weak nuclear force, etc., that have precise values. If any one of those constants was off by even 1 part of a million, or in some cases by 1 part in a million, the universe could not have actually come to the point where we see it. Matter would not have been able to coalesce. There would have been no galaxy, no stars, no planets, or people. Even Stephen Hawking, renowned English physicist and cosmologist, wrote, the odds against a universe like ours emerging out of something like the Big Bang are enormous. I think there are clearly religious implications. It would be very difficult, he goes on to say in another place, it would be very difficult to explain why the universe would have begun in just this way, except as the act of a God who intended to create beings like us. But as you may know, while Francis Collins believes in such a God, Stephen Hawking still does not. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God.